Deep inside a dark cave, someone is mining relentlessly. A pickaxe strikes the rocky wall with a powerful thud. Then a mysterious blue liquid begins to drip from a crack in the stone. Our main character Kay is thrilled because he has finally found what he has been searching for. Carefully, he collects the blue ink dripping from the rock into a small vial. Kay quietly thanks his little companion Nero who helped him on this journey. With this discovery, our hero now believes he can finally be accepted into the Pioneer Corps. From there, the young man begins walking out of the cave. Once outside, he pauses and gazes at a futuristic city glowing brightly in the distance. At the same time, inside the city, a large crowd gathers to watch an event. Standing before them are the Colorists, a group of heroes known for their vibrant hair and incredible power. The people admire them greatly because they protect the city from massive monsters. Thanks to them, the shining metropolis remains safe, prosperous, and full of life. However, the scene soon shifts to a darker and poorer part of the city. In this place known as the Shadow District, the atmosphere feels completely different, and the people here look anxious and troubled. On a nearby wall, a poster for the C-Rank Pioneer Corps exam is posted. Suddenly, Kay is violently thrown to the ground by a group of men. One of them coldly tells him that this place is not for someone like him. Confused, Kay quickly shows them the vial of ink he collected, and insists that it proves he qualifies to take the exam. But one of the men grows increasingly irritated by the boy's persistence, and finally reveals the real reason they refuse to accept him. Kay is colorless. The man explains that everyone in society is born with a predetermined role. As he speaks, his hand begins to glow with power. While he calls Kay a damned colorless, a sudden wave of energy strikes Kay and forces him back. The man declares that the role of a pioneer is reserved only for the chosen ones, and only those born with colors possess the strength required to become one. He adds that weaklings never survive in the dangerous Blacklands. That place is an endless world of darkness, filled with terrifying creatures, and pioneers constantly risk their lives there to gather resources for humanity. The man proudly boasts that they are the true heroes of the city, therefore someone like Kay could never hope to stand among them. According to him, a colorless should simply find another job and stop dreaming. With those harsh words, he tells Kay to get lost and never come back. Kay remains silent, while his companion Nero looks worried beside him. However, Kay gently calms Nero and says it is fine because this kind of thing happens all the time. Even so, Kay firmly declares that one day he will become the greatest colorist, because it is a promise he refuses to abandon. He then asks Nero to hide so that no one will see him. With that, the young man decides to search somewhere else for an opportunity. Meanwhile, one of the men who dismissed him quietly watches him walk away. The green-haired man seems to have developed a strange interest in Kay. Kay continues his search for a place willing to accept him, going from door to door across the district. However, every attempt ends the same way, and each time he simply crosses another name off his list. By the end of the day, Kay feels completely defeated after finding no success at all. With no other options left, he decides to visit a place called Mary's workshop. Arriving there, he opens the door and calls out to Marie, who is working with her back turned. The young woman turns around and greets him warmly, calling out his name. Marie quickly notices the sadness on his face and immediately asks if he was rejected again. She becomes annoyed on his behalf, saying those people clearly have no eye for the talent Kay possesses. Marie insists that Kay has already proven his abilities countless times in the Blacklands. However, Kay humbly replies that he only manages because of Nero's help. He then offers Marie the ink he collected earlier, and she happily agrees to buy it for a good price. She explains that ink has recently become extremely scarce, and because the number of pioneers has increased, the demand for ink has caused prices to skyrocket. Apparently, their entire way of life depends heavily on this valuable resource. Considering the situation, Marie asks if Kay has thought about the suggestion she mentioned before. Kay hesitates for a moment, but Marie quickly presses the topic. She places a sheet of paper on the table in front of him. It is a recruitment flyer for the S-ranked Dawn Pioneer Corps. Kay becomes thoughtful because he has never attempted something as high as S-rank before, and the fear of failure has always held him back. But Marie encourages him, saying that this organization evaluates people purely based on merit. Looking at him with hopeful eyes, she believes this could finally be the place where Kay's abilities are recognized. She reminds him that becoming a pioneer has been his dream ever since he was a child, and no matter what happens, she promises she will always support him. With a small smile, Kay finally agrees, since he is not exactly in a position to be picky. He takes the Dawn Pioneer Corps flyer and prepares to leave. Kay thanks Marie for everything, and she wishes him the best of luck. Later, Kay walks alone through the dark streets of the district while studying the flyer and realizing the deadline is approaching quickly. However, Nero suddenly begins acting restless. Kay finds the behavior strange and asks what is wrong. Without warning, a man appears behind him holding a green staff. It is the same man from earlier. The green-haired figure stares at Kay with a wicked grin as green energy gathers around his staff. Before Kay can react, the man launches a powerful energy attack straight toward him. Caught completely off guard, Kay has no chance to dodge the sudden strike. The blast hits him directly and sends him flying from the impact. The attackers slowly approach while mocking the fact that he is still alive. As Kay struggles on the ground, the green-haired man coldly remarks that nobody would care if a colorless simply disappeared. With the last of his strength, Kay turns his head and looks at Nero, who is crying in fear for him. Kay quietly tells his little friend to run away from there, Soon the scene changes to an ink waste disposal facility, located on the outskirts of the district. Sometime later, Kay awakens there in terrible pain. Standing before him is the green-haired man wearing a terrifying smile. The villain holds Kay over the edge of a massive tank filled with a dark black liquid. He casually explains that the liquid is a deadly residue created from the mixture of every type of ink. Struggling to breathe, Kay asks the man who he is and what he wants. Instead of answering the question, the man simply stares at him before revealing the real reason behind the attack. They had discovered a treasure in the Shadow District, and that treasure was Nero, an intelligent creature that willingly followed a human. It turns out the attackers had already captured Nero and locked him inside a cage. Desperate, Kay screams his friend's name while Nero cries helplessly from inside the cage. Kay desperately tries to attack the man in order to save Nero, but he is easily restrained. Their plan is simple. They intend to sell Nero on the black market and earn a massive fortune. According to the green-haired man, a treasure like Nero is far too valuable to belong to a colorless. Kay bitterly regrets letting his guard down in the Shadow District. He cannot accept the idea of losing Nero, the only family he has left, for such a meaningless reason. An overwhelming fury suddenly erupts within him, as Kay screams at them not to mess with him. At that moment, a strange dark energy begins to flow from his hand. The green-haired man freezes in shock. For the first time, fear appears on his face because he has never felt a power like this before. Right after the man's green energy begins getting sucked into Kay's body, disgusted by the strange sensation, the man immediately lets him go, dropping him straight into the tank, and without hesitation he turns away to continue with his plans for Nero and head toward the black market. While Nero cries helplessly inside the cage as it sinks deeper into the endless darkness, Kay can only think about saving his friend, but his body refuses to move, and slowly he begins sinking into the thick black liquid, lamenting such a pathetic end, while memories of happier moments flash through his mind. However, when he remembers his childhood, he suddenly realizes that he cannot give up yet, because he still has a very important promise that he must keep. Deep within a void, a mysterious voice asks the unconscious protagonist why he is doing nothing. Confused, the protagonist asks the voice to identify itself. Large text flashes before him, commanding him to accept it. A torrent of thoughts rains down, urging him to save Nero and accept his true color. The protagonist's face becomes obscured by shadow, as the voice demands he take back his power. A hand reaches out from a swirling vortex of black liquid. The protagonist stands motionless as a tendril of darkness dissipates above him. He looks down at his hands, now wreathed in black energy, confused that he was inside the ink. His memories are fragmented, but he pushes those thoughts aside to focus on what matters. Now a silhouette of shadow with glowing white eyes. He questions what he has become. A soft whimpering sound cuts through the silence, catching the entity's attention. He looks up to see two blurry figures standing high above, holding a small cage. Inside, Nero cries out. The sight of his companion snaps the protagonist back to reality, and he affirms he must save Nero. He reaches a hand of darkness toward the men. Suddenly, a massive geyser of black energy erupts from the depths. The green-haired man and his assistant recoil in terror, screaming. They look down into the disposal pit and are shocked to see the deadly pool of ink has vanished, leaving only a lone dark figure standing at the bottom. The entity, emanating an ominous aura, begins to walk toward them. The green-haired man trembles in fear, his eyes wide with disbelief. As a gigantic claw of shadow descends upon them, he stammers, wondering if this terrifying being is a creature. The aftermath of the explosion leaves a scene of total devastation in the Shadow District. A frantic older man screams at a police officer, insisting he saw a small hand suddenly spring out from nowhere, causing a massive eruption of dark energy that wrecked the entire area. As the dust settles, medics carry away the unconscious bodies of the green-haired attacker and his assistant. A new group of arrivals observes the victims. A man with red hair and a woman with blue hair look down at the injured men, noting that these B-rank pioneers have completely lost their color. The blue-haired woman is baffled, unable to understand what could drain a person's color, but her companion suggests they focus on their mission. The red-haired man states they came because of reports of a large creature appearing within the city. The police officer on site is stunned to realize he is speaking to a high-ranking colorist. He nervously asks why such elite individuals are in the Shadow District, and the blue-haired woman politely explains they are there to investigate. The red-haired man asks to be shown the impact site, and the intimidated officer leads the way. The two investigators stand before the massive crater. The red-haired man inspects the debris and notices dark stains while his partner confirms there are traces of a creature. She points out it is highly irregular for one to appear suddenly inside the city, especially in the outskirts, explaining that usually only small animals are found within the city walls. Looking into the deep pit, the red-haired man wonders if they are dealing with a new monster variant. He looks bored but serious, realizing that tracking this unique entity will be troublesome since it doesn't fit the usual patterns. The scene shifts to a desolate landscape where rubble is piled high. In the darkness, a cat cries out. Kay, lying in the shadows, groans in pain. He feels a rough tongue and wakes up to find Nero licking his hair. Overcome with relief, Kay immediately pulls Nero into a tight hug, overjoyed that the cat is safe. However, the physical pain hits him and he winces. Kei sits up confused and tries to piece together what happened. He remembers the bastards who attacked him and threw him into the vat, recalling falling into the toxic black liquid and sinking. His eyes widen in shock as he processes his survival. He holds up his hands in disbelief, wondering if the impossible has happened. He touches his head and feels something different. His hair, once white, is now jet black. Kei grips his new black hair, staring forward with utter confusion, unable to understand how he is still alive or why his appearance has drastically changed. Standing in the pitch-black darkness, Kei looks around wondering why he cannot see anything. He calls out desperately to his companion, asking Nero to help. In response, the black cat leaps into the air and spins rapidly, emitting a blinding white glow that illuminates the area. From the shadows, dozens of sinister glowing eyes stare hungrily at their prey, and trembling with fear, Kei looks around in terror, while wondering where he has ended up. But as he studies the surroundings, he suddenly recognizes the landscape, and realizes with shock that he has fallen into the dreaded Blacklands. Understanding his mistake, he realizes he has crossed beyond the limits of the safe forest, and suddenly a swarm of monsters begins rushing toward the intruder. Running for his life, Kei calls for Nero so they can escape quickly, and following the command, the small glowing companion keeps pace beside him as they flee through the darkness. Barely dodging in time, Kei narrowly escapes a deadly strike from the shadows, and thankful for the save he praises Nero's incredible speed. Meowing loudly, Nero senses something strange changing in the environment, and suddenly a pillar of light tears through the darkness and illuminates the cave. A cold chill runs down Kei's spine as he feels that mysterious energy surrounding him, and moments later he notices his body growing lighter, while a strange force begins flowing through him. Running non-stop, the boy quickly realizes that all his fatigue has completely vanished, and leaping across the rocks, he moves with a speed he has never experienced before. Overflowing with energy, our hero feels explosive strength awakening inside him, while Nero streaks through the air like a small bolt of lightning keeping pace beside him. Suddenly a massive monster bursts out from the shadows and attacks Kei from behind, and losing his balance he realizes too late that he cannot dodge the incoming strike. Closing his eyes, the boy simply waits for the fatal blow, but something impossible happens. Biting down violently, the creature sinks its teeth into Kei's arm, but the moment its teeth make contact, they instantly shatter. The monster's eyes widen in shock after biting something unbelievably hard, and screaming in pain, the beast retreats in confusion while Kei remains standing completely motionless. Looking down at his arm, Kei is stunned to see that it is completely intact, and after surviving the attack he can hardly believe he escaped certain death. Staring at his hands, Kei slowly realizes that this must be the power of colors. Then suddenly the ground begins to tremble, heavy footsteps echo through the cave, announcing the arrival of something enormous, and emerging from the darkness a gigantic cyclops reveals itself before them. Recognizing the terrifying beast, Kei immediately understands that he is facing a deadly predator, and confused by the situation he wonders why a monster like this would appear here. With a violent roar, the creature tears through the ground while attacking wildly in an attempt to crush them, and meowing in fear, Nero warns his owner about the approaching danger. Dodging the powerful attacks, Kei quickly realizes that this battle will not be easy, yet suddenly a confident smirk appears on his face. For the first time he feels true confidence rising within him. Feeling the overwhelming power surging through his body, he becomes certain that victory is possible, and remembering everything he has suffered, he realizes that he finally possesses the strength he has always wanted. Clenching his fist tightly, Kei makes a decision that he will stop running forever. Drawing upon the anger and humiliation from earlier, he awakens the energy within his body, and concentrating the flow he feels the dark power growing stronger and stronger, until suddenly it explodes. A powerful black aura erupts around him as Kei transforms and prepares for battle. Facing the monster directly, our hero refuses to step back even a single step. With all his strength, Kei launches himself forward like a rocket toward the monster and delivers a devastating punch. The impact completely obliterates the creature. The ground cracks violently as a massive cloud of dust erupts into the air, while fragments of the monster scatter across the cave. Staring at the destruction, Kei feels the incredible power vibrating through his veins. Suddenly his vision begins glowing brightly, and everything around him is swallowed by an intense blinding light. When the scenery changes, Kei suddenly finds himself standing inside a beautiful, colorful forest, and amazed by the breathtaking view he becomes enchanted by that vibrant living world. Then suddenly he returns to reality. The black ink covering his body slowly begins melting away, and breaking into a cold sweat. Kei has no idea what just happened. Suddenly intense pain surges through his body and he screams as all his strength disappears. Falling to his knees, the young man can barely remain standing, meowing with worry. Nero rushes toward his exhausted owner. Watching the dark aura fade away, Kei finally realizes the truth. His ink is running out. Understanding the danger, he discovers that this newfound power has limits. Hearing distant voices, Kei begins to feel dizzy from exhaustion, and slowly he starts losing consciousness. Reaching out with a trembling hand, he searches the ground for support, digging his fingers into the dirt while desperately trying to catch his breath. Gradually, the remaining black energy fades away from his body. Nearby, little Nero glows softly within the darkness of the cave, while carefully watching over him. As the dust from the battle slowly settles, the entire area becomes quiet once more. With a weak smile, Kay admits that it was a very close call, and taking a deep breath he tries to calm himself after nearly losing his life. Later he returns to the city and arrives in front of Mary's workshop. Inside, Marie is drawing absent-mindedly when she suddenly hears the door open. A hooded figure quietly appears at the entrance. Cheerfully, Marie asks what brings him there, but something immediately feels wrong. Looking closer, she notices the visitor is not speaking at all. Standing completely still, the mysterious figure remains silent. As the slow, heavy footsteps echo through the workshop, Marie grows nervous and asks fearfully who is there. She does not recognize the hooded figure. Approaching silently, the stranger slowly corners the girl. Suddenly, the figure lets out a loud yell. The intruder gives the poor girl the scare of her life. Laughing at her shocked expression, Kay pulls back his hood and reveals his identity, trying to calm her down. He tells her it is just her same old friend. Holding a massive wrench, Marie stands there in complete shock. After realizing Kay actually came back alive, stuttering nervously, she can barely process the situation. Suddenly yelling furiously, the girl demands to know where on earth he has been all this time, threatening to attack. She raises the wrench and prepares to strike, cursing the boy out. Marie releases all the stress and worry she had been feeling, backing away with both hands raised. Kay desperately tries to avoid the well-deserved beating, slamming the wrench down onto the table. Marie orders him to explain everything immediately, admitting her relief. She says she is honestly glad he did not get himself killed out there. Changing the subject, our hero quickly asks if the applications are still open, asking to borrow some clothes. Kay promises that he will pay her back one day. Sighing tiredly, Marie asks how many times something like this has already happened, but then her mood suddenly softens, and she smiles while saying she considers it an investment in him. Grabbing his hand, the girl pulls her friend along and tells him to follow her. Handing him a package, she proudly says she has exactly what he needs. Arriving at the arena, the place is already packed for the admission exam. Looking at the massive crowd, it is obvious the competition will be extremely fierce. Chatting nervously, several candidates comment on how anxious they feel. Joining the Dawn Squad is the dream of every serious pioneer. Being the strongest group, everyone desperately wants a spot on this team. Conquering the Blacklands again and again, they have gathered several elite colorists under their banner, attracting powerful individuals. The test today is filled with many famous names. Pointing out the standouts, the crowd quickly recognizes certain hairstyles and well-known hunters. However, one particular candidate steals everyone's attention. Whispering among themselves, the crowd keeps glancing at a man named Gale, known as the Storm Sword, famous for hunting monsters alone. People say he possesses the strength of an entire army because of his many achievements. He arrives as the clear favorite of the exam. Seeing his reputation, many believe his victory is already guaranteed, and that it would be impossible for him to fail. Ignoring all the attention, Gale appears completely bored by the cheering fans. Looking around, he only sees what he believes to be a crowd of useless losers. Dismissing everyone around him, he feels vastly superior to the other candidates. But suddenly his gaze stops when he notices someone interesting. Walking gracefully, a girl with long blue hair stands out among the crowd. Known as the Ice Princess, she radiates a powerful and intimidating aura. Grinning slightly, Gale admits that she does not look half bad. Growing curious, he decides he wants to see what she is capable of. Once the battles begin, suddenly a robotic voice stutters through the microphone, asking everyone for their attention. Announcing the start, the admission exam is finally about to begin. Following the order, the examiners open the massive gates of the arena. Appearing imposingly, the lead examiner steps forward and instantly silences the entire crowd. Being a living legend, people say his strength alone rivals entire armies. Staring down at the rookies, he releases an overwhelming, suffocating pressure, welcoming them calmly. The captain thanks everyone for attending the test today. Beginning his speech, he reminds them that this examination is no joke. Understanding the dreams that brought them here, he warns that ambition alone will never be enough to survive. Speaking realistically, he explains that half-hearted determination will never last in the brutal Blacklands. Explaining the rules, he declares that their true worth will be measured in blood. Recalling the harsh law of the jungle, the captain states that the weak simply become food for monsters. Challenging them all, he asks who among them will become the predator, and who will end up as the prey. Calling the first names, the loudspeaker summons the opening pair of fighters. Stepping into the arena, Gale walks forward confidently, already feeling like the winner. Feeling sorry for his opponent, the audience whispers that the poor guy does not stand a chance. Smiling cruelly, the swordsman quickly recognizes the victim he is about to humiliate. Already imagining the fun he plans to have, Gale thinks about how he will toy with the weakling before finishing him. Studying the opponent's posture, he decides the man looks far too weak to be interesting. Standing there silently, the hooded figure appears completely harmless and does not react at all. Unsheathing his weapon, the swordsman decides to end this boring fight quickly. Walking forward calmly, he raises his sword and prepares for the slaughter. Unleashing his powerful aura, Gale decides not to hold back even a little. Recognizing the technique, the crowd begins shouting the name of the famous Storm Sword, generating sharp blades of wind. Gale proudly displays his high-level control over his ability, challenging his opponent. He mocks him and tells him to try blocking the attack if he can. Charging forward with everything he has, the green-haired swordsman launches his offensive and promises to slice the weakling apart. Unleashing a brutal slash of compressed wind energy, he aims directly at the silent figure, without moving the hooded fighter, simply watches the attack approaching. At the very last moment he dodges by a hair's breadth, and the wind blade misses its target completely.
I got
In the
this!
next instant, the brutal punch lands squarely on Gale's face. The impact explodes like thunder, and sends the swordsman flying backward instantly. Dust erupts across the arena as Gale is thrown across the battlefield. Eyes widening in shock, the entire audience suddenly falls silent, after witnessing the unbelievable scene, crashing violently into the arena wall. Gale collapses defeated among the rubble, losing consciousness. The overwhelming favorite is eliminated before the match even truly begins. Looking down at his own fist, Kay feels surprised by the absurd strength he just displayed. Removing his hood, he finds the heavy silence that has fallen over the arena extremely strange. Murmuring nervously, the candidates begin pointing toward his color. Recognizing the shade, the captain calmly announces that black is known as the color of calamity. Feeling chills run down her spine, the blue-haired girl quietly notes that someone with that color cannot possibly be human, judging by the power he just displayed. With his rare color, Kay has instantly captured everyone's attention. Growing confused by the reaction, our hero simply scratches his head and awkwardly asks if he did something wrong.
Breaking the tension, the remaining competitors rush forward all at once, launching rocks and spells, as a mage attempts to catch the protagonist off guard, but Kay dodges effortlessly, moving past the attack as if it were nothing, spinning midair before counterattacking with a swift and precise strike, slamming his opponent into the ground, and knocking out yet another nuisance. Landing smoothly, he moves again without hesitation, taking down another rival with ease, his movements sharp and controlled as if the battle barely requires effort. Watching from above, the captain notes that the boy is a rare talent, already planning ahead as he considers securing the recruit before word spreads and others take interest. At that moment, an important figure arrives in the VIP area, and recognizing his superior, the captain immediately straightens and salutes Chief Red with respect. Arriving with an imposing presence, Red and his assistant observe the arena closely, the redhead casually asking how this year's rookies compare while subtly hiding his growing interest. Wondering if anyone is actually worth his time, complaining about his previous assignment, he remarks that the last mission was a complete waste, but suddenly an explosion within the arena draws both their attention. Pointing out the standout fighters, the captain highlights the Ice Girl along with a surprising newcomer, and the moment Red notices the color, his expression shifts in shock as he sees black on the boy. Explaining further, the captain mentions how the boy humiliated the favorite in an instant, causing the assistant to question in disbelief whether this is really the same kid from before. Suspicion grows within Red as he finds it strange that the boy now possesses such power. Meanwhile, Kay feels exhilarated as his strength grows, believing his dream of becoming a pioneer is finally within reach, though he remains cautious knowing he must conceal the limits of his ink. On the opposite side of the arena, an icy explosion erupts as a freezing wave sweeps across the battlefield, the blue-haired girl moving coldly as she defeats multiple opponents at once, standing victorious as she establishes herself as the strongest contender. Watching her quietly, Kay admits that her aura is as beautiful as it is dangerous, secretly hoping he will not have to face her. Soon the two finalists cross paths at the center of the arena, silence filling the space as she studies him with a sharp and piercing gaze. Feeling the pressure, Kay tenses at the overwhelming presence before him, yet without a word the girl simply walks past him, completely ignoring him as if he were insignificant. With that, the phase comes to an end as the captain announces that the warm-up is finally over, explaining that with only a few remaining, the real test begins now. The losers are dismissed immediately as the examiner orders them to leave, warning that the next stage will be the true challenge. Watching with a sinister smile, Red decides he will have some fun in the second test, while Kay looks on curiously, unable to recognize the red-haired man. Suddenly, everyone reacts in shock as they shout the name Colonel Red, his presence alone commanding fear and respect. Descending from the stands, the redhead walks toward the center engulfed in flames, his overwhelming power visible even from afar, his reputation as one of the strongest pioneers undeniable. Taking control of the situation, he announces that the test has changed, explaining simply that whoever remains standing will pass. With a dangerous smile, he unleashes an unbearable wave of heat, the air itself burning as immense pressure crashes down on the candidates, forcing many to their knees. Panic spreads as several begin to feel sick under the crushing aura, while Red calmly explains that the Blacklands are filled with constant danger just like this, increasing the pressure as he observes who truly has the will to endure. The strongest struggle to remain conscious as they resist the overwhelming heat, while Red scans the crowd searching specifically for the boy with the black color. Noticing a faint glow, he recognizes the technique of the Cyan family as the blue-haired girl freezes the ground beneath her, creating a barrier of ice to counter the flames. Impressed, Red admits she has overcome the disadvantage, proving why she is considered a genius. Shifting his focus once more, he locks onto Kay, deciding to test the limits of this mysterious rookie. Directing his pressure toward him, he watches closely as Kay begins to falter, his body trembling under the immense force as he nears collapse. Disappointed, Red thinks he may have expected too much, while Kay struggles desperately as his body reaches its limit. Recalling his previous fight, Kay realizes he has nearly exhausted all of his ink, leaving him with no energy to defend himself, fear creeping in as he risks exposing the truth that he is colorless. Barely holding on, he feels his strength fading until suddenly an idea sparks in his mind. Realizing that the Colonel's energy itself could be the answer, he decides to take a risk, extending his hand toward the blazing aura despite his doubts. The moment he makes contact, he activates the hidden power of the black color, a violent pull forming as a vortex begins draining the surrounding pressure, shocking everyone nearby. The air distorts as the technique creates a vacuum in the center of the arena, diverting the flames as Kay feels his strength return in a surge, the energy spiraling into a raging tornado around him. The overwhelming display leaves the crowd stunned as the captain watches in disbelief, unable to comprehend what he is seeing. Understanding exactly what is happening, Red smiles with satisfaction, impressed by the boy's boldness. But even as power floods into him, Kay struggles to contain it, his body pushed to the brink as if he might explode from the overload. Standing alone in the arena, he now looks less like a human and more like a monster, and in that moment he realizes he may have drawn far more attention than he ever intended. Intrigued, the Ice Princess refuses to take her eyes off him, her gaze locked as doubt spreads through the crowd, many questioning if that black color could even be real. Feeling a sense of threat, she narrows her eyes at Kay, concern flickering beneath her cold expression. Memories of her family's expectations surfacing as she recalls the pressure to always stand at the top. She refuses to accept humiliation, refuses to fall behind anyone, yet deep down she acknowledges the truth. Against that monster she would not win. Sensing something unnatural, she realizes his aura is unlike anything she has ever seen, a living mystery that defies logic. But instead of overthinking, she discards the questions entirely, deciding that his identity does not matter. With quiet resolve, she promises a rematch, confident that next time the outcome will be different. Watching closely, Red smirks as he notices the black power devour his flames, curiosity burning within him as he decides this rare rookie is worth observing. Meanwhile, Kay stands stunned upon hearing the result, barely able to process that he has been approved, excitement surging within him as he realizes he has finally reached his dream of becoming a pioneer. Without a word, Red slips away, leaving the overwhelmed captain behind, while the examiner quickly restores order and announces that the selection will continue. Making it clear he spares only one standout, he declares that number 99 alone has passed directly. As the others disperse, the blue-haired girl watches silently, a strange unease settling within her as she observes Kay leaving alongside Red. Soon they arrive at their destination as a luxury car stops within a ruined area, the atmosphere heavy with destruction. Stepping out, Red casually tells the driver to wait, while Kay trembles as he recognizes the place, his memories dragging him back to the pit where he once fell into chemical waste. Surveying the surroundings, Red mentions a recent incident tied to this location, sharing rumors that 2 pioneers were discovered here, stripped of their colors. Continuing calmly, he adds that witnesses reported a massive beast appearing in the area, before pointing out that Kay showed up immediately after. Connecting everything, he quickly deduces the existence of a strange power capable of absorbing colors, his eyes fixing on the boy as he states that this ability is something entirely new. Panic grips Kay as he realizes the chief has already uncovered the truth, thoughts of escape flashing through his mind only to be crushed by the reality that he would be eliminated instantly. Laughing at his reaction, Red casually admits he was only testing his nerves, explaining that his role involves investigating abnormal incidents. Bringing up the concept of black, he reveals that such a color does not exist within the normal system, making Kay an anomaly that breaks every rule. Noting the instability, he points out that Kay cannot yet control this power, striking directly at the boy's weakness. Deciding to demonstrate, Red looks around before extending his hand, inviting Kay to undergo a real test, offering his own energy and instructing him to try absorbing just a small amount. Warning the driver not to panic, he prepares for what is about to happen, while Kay steels himself and accepts, realizing he can no longer hold back. As Red's tone darkens, he begins speaking of inhumans, beings that look human but are actually monsters, threats that endanger the entire city. Locking eyes with Kay, he delivers a chilling warning that if the boy turns out to be one of them, he will kill him on the spot without hesitation. Accepting the risk, Kay grabs his arm, nervously joking about dying if things go wrong. The moment their connection forms, a dense energy begins to swirl violently between them, red power flooding into Kay's body. As his eyes widen in shock, an unbearable heat consumes him from within, burning through his entire being as he screams in agony. Unable to withstand the overwhelming force, losing control, he begs for it to stop as the energy feels like it is tearing him apart. While Red quickly notices that the flow is not stabilizing, realizing the danger, Kay understands that a true hero's power is practically limitless, yet Red remains calm, allowing the boy to absorb more, curious to see how far he can go. The risk becomes clear as the hunger of that black power proves far too dangerous, yet Red continues observing, intrigued by the unknown limits. Suddenly, Kay's arm reaches a critical point and erupts in blinding light, releasing a devastating blast that tears through the ground and carves a massive trench. Watching the destruction, Red is visibly impressed. While Kay's arm becomes engulfed in violent black flames, questioning him directly, Red asks if he still has control. As Kay struggles internally, his mind invaded by chaotic voices, the energy burns his flesh while attempting to dominate his body entirely, pushing him toward pure destruction as whispers tempt him to release everything. Fighting back with sheer will, he rejects those impulses, screaming internally as he forces the invading presence to be silent. With immense effort, he disperses the excess energy, regaining control just before losing himself completely. Observing this, Red acknowledges that the boy managed to stabilize in time. Exhausted and gasping, K feels as though he narrowly escaped becoming a monster, slowly calming himself as the immediate danger fades. Approaching him, Red checks his condition, asking if his mind remains intact, before confirming that the test has concluded. Calling him by his number, he breaks the silence, offering a rare smile as he praises the boy's extraordinary resilience. Agreeing with K's resolve, he admits that sometimes everything must be risked, stating that he has seen enough. Shifting the conversation, he reminds him of his position as chief investigator, pointing out that K is the sole survivor of the incident site. He explains that many powerful figures are already watching this case, warning that the city would hunt him down like a lab specimen. Realizing his situation, K understands he has no escape, fear gripping him as he imagines being captured and dissected alive. Seeing this, Red offers a way out, proposing that K join his team. Without hesitation, K drops to his knees, accepting immediately and begging for protection. Setting the terms, Red warns that he will call in favors when needed. Desperate to survive, K pledges absolute loyalty, agreeing to do anything to escape his fate. A faint grin forms on Red's face as he admits he likes hearing that he can ask for anything he wants. Traveling far, the truck pushes through the endless desert of the Blacklands, the barren landscape stretching in every direction as K stares out in disbelief, barely processing that his journey as a pioneer has truly begun. Breaking the moment, Gale complains about the noise and tells the rookie to sit down and stay quiet, his impatience clear as ever. Vibrating with excitement, the swordsman declares he was born for this kind of mission, accepting that they are now on the same team whether he likes it or not. Beside them, the Ice Princess gazes out the window in silence, her thoughts distant and unreadable, still trying to process everything. K questions why he was invited to such a dangerous, unexplored area, only for Red to confirm that he personally reserved a spot just for him. Laughing at the boy's reaction, the chief tells him to relax before pulling out a map, explaining that the rookies will be entering in a large group and that official details will be announced soon. Setting expectations, he reminds K to arrive on time at the meeting point, reinforcing the order with a firm tone. Later, upon entering the cabin, K finds his new teammates already gathered, the atmosphere thick with tension as memories of the chaotic exam still linger. Due to Red's interference, more strong candidates were approved, changing the outcome entirely. Determined to be part of the action, Ellie personally requested to join Red's squad. Meanwhile, Gale mutters in frustration, unable to accept his humiliation in the arena, making excuses as he claims he only lost because he lowered his guard. Promising revenge, he swears he will defeat K next time, his pride still wounded. Trying to comfort him, the girl with glasses insists he would have won under normal circumstances, but the Ice Princess immediately shuts that down, stating coldly that he would lose again. Crushing his ego further, she declares that Gale is nowhere near K's level. Shifting the focus, Ellie boldly claims she will be the first to challenge him instead, her competitive spirit burning. Finding the exchange oddly entertaining, K begins to think he might actually get along with her, only for Ellie to snap at him as if the fight had already been arranged, telling him to keep quiet. With the princess mercilessly tearing into Gale, the mood turns heavy, and the three fall into an awkward silence. Watching it all unfold, K quietly wonders if this team will even function properly. Soon their journey continues as their transport moves deeper into darkness, heading toward the unknown. Arriving at the base, the group disembarks at the Cyan outpost, the scale of resources immediately standing out as something only an S rank could command. Lost in thought, K is suddenly snapped back by a gentle touch, turning to see Marie smiling warmly as she asks where his mind wandered off to. Supporting him, she explains that she came personally to witness his debut, wanting to be there for his first mission. Suddenly, Nero pops out to greet him, the small companion bringing a sense of relief as K thanks them both for staying safe. Excited for the opportunity, Marie declares she will prove her value during the mission, her determination shining through. A loud siren interrupts the moment as commands call everyone into final formation, signaling that their entry into the Blacklands is about to begin. Trusting her, K leaves Nero in Marie's care while she reminds him not to do anything reckless, gently reassuring the little creature that his owner will return soon. Without warning, Nero dissolves into smoke within her hands, vanishing instantly and leaving Marie in shock as she frantically searches for him. Unknown to her, the small companion slips through the shadows and reappears beside K, leaving her completely baffled by what just happened. As they advance, the pioneers stand in awe of a massive structure ahead, its sheer scale overwhelming as K realizes just how enormous it truly is. Preparing for deployment, the Orange team announces they will be entering the rift, their leader emphasizing that safety remains the top priority. She reminds them that the area is filled with deadly monsters, and the destruction around them makes it clear that this is no exaggeration. Suddenly, the briefing is interrupted as a subordinate urgently calls for Red, reporting strange signals detected within the zone. It becomes clear that someone has entered the restricted area without permission, surprising Red as he questions who would be reckless enough to do so. Given that the region is under S-rank authority, the danger is extreme, and the messenger urgently pleads for help to rescue the rookies in time. Somewhere in the darkness, a mysterious figure struggles forward, a trembling hand dragging itself across the rocks. Arriving at the scene, Red and his team immediately sense the heavy atmosphere, the tension in the air thick and suffocating. Uncertain, K asks if it is truly safe to proceed, but Red reassures them with confidence, promising that no one under his command will die. With a confident grin, he reminds them they are led by the best, before cutting off any further talk and ordering the team to move out. Entering the cave, they are instantly greeted by a swarm of monsters, one beast lunging forward with a ferocious roar in an attempt to devour them. Reacting instantly, Ellie slices through the creature, forming blades of ice with deadly precision, landing gracefully as she feels the true weight of the Blacklands for the first time. Surrounded by countless watching eyes, she realizes that no amount of training could prepare her for this reality. Checking her weapon, she understands the need to conserve energy, deciding to fight strategically rather than recklessly. Glancing at Kay, she silently vows not to fall behind him. Breaking the silence, she questions his unusual fighting style, asking why he does not use a dropper. Caught off guard, Kay stumbles over his words before awkwardly admitting the truth, that he simply cannot afford one. Complaining about the cost, he explains that such weapons are meant for the wealthy, leaving Ellie and Gale completely stunned, shocked beyond belief. Gale demands to know if he is serious, explaining that droppers are essential tools for using colors effectively. By injecting ink, they amplify power and make fighting monsters far easier. Recalling the arena, Gale suddenly realizes Kay fought entirely barehanded. Frustration builds as he groans in anger, feeling even more humiliated knowing he lost to someone without any equipment. Reflecting on the fight, he recognizes the overwhelming gap between them, cursing his own weakness as he swears to take revenge one day. Watching the rivalry unfold, Red finds the situation amusing, enjoying the clash between rising talents. Smiling with satisfaction, he remarks that this mission is shaping up to be quite entertaining. Encouraging the team, he tells them they are close to their objective, promising that once the job is done they will celebrate properly. Warning of danger. Ellie tells them not to let their guard down yet, her voice steady as she scans the surroundings. Drinking from a vial, Gale restores the energy he spent during the fight, the liquid glowing faintly as it takes effect. Recognizing the item, Kay notes that it is custom ink, something incredibly expensive and tailored specifically to one's color. These tonics, refined through alchemy, greatly enhance power, making them a luxury only the wealthy can afford. Watching them drink it so casually, Kay feels a sting of envy, nearly tearing up at the sight, yet he quickly hides it and pretends he has no need for such things. Instead, crouching down, he chooses a different method, deciding to absorb energy directly from the environment. Drawing in the surrounding darkness, he begins pulling the black color into himself. The sudden surge startles Ellie and Gale as a dark aura forms around him, the energy gathering rapidly, absorbing everything effortlessly. Kay refills his reserves without spending anything. Standing back up refreshed, he declares he is ready for the next fight. Concerned, Ellie asks if he feels any side effects, but Kay reassures her calmly, saying he has done this many times before, thinking it completely insane. Gale can only conclude that the guy is out of his mind. Cutting their conversation short, Red announces that they have reached their destination. Facing a massive black barrier, Kay immediately senses something strange about it, a familiar energy lingering within. Asking what it is, he feels an uneasy connection. Explaining the situation, Red reveals that this is exactly why he brought Kay here. To demonstrate, he forms a blazing fireball and launches it forward, the attack striking the barrier with tremendous force. The ground trembles from the impact, yet the wall absorbs everything completely without a single mark. Clarifying the mechanics, Red warns that brute force only feeds it, making it even stronger. Connecting the idea, he explains that it functions similarly to Kay's own power. Confident in his theory, he bets that the rookie can break through it. Pointing toward the ruins, he reveals their objective is to recover the Stella fragments. Confused, Ellie and Gale admit they have never heard of such a thing, while Kay remains silent, hiding what he knows, leaving explanations for later. Red states that the Shining City requires these fragments. Then without hesitation, he orders Kay to deal with the barrier. Placing his hand against the surface, Kay feels the energy pulsing beneath his fingers. Pulling with full force, he begins absorbing the structure, forming a massive whirlpool of black energy. The barrier trembles as it is slowly consumed, the giant wall collapsing into nothingness as Kay devours it entirely. Watching closely, Red confirms his expectations were correct. Impressed by the rookie's ability, as the obstruction disappears, the path to the ruins is finally revealed. Already thinking ahead, Red imagines how valuable this power could become in the future. Meanwhile, Gale covers his ears, complaining about the overwhelming vibrations, warning that the noise will attract trouble. Almost immediately, his fears are confirmed as distant roars echo from every direction. From the darkness, beasts begin to emerge, their fangs bared as shadowy figures rise from the ground. Within moments, an entire army surrounds them. Remaining calm, Ellie remarks that their welcome is rather intense. Taking command, Red orders them to hold formation and eliminate every enemy in sight. Without hesitation, Gale charges forward, cutting through the first wave, his blade slicing through the air. Beside him, Ellie freezes the battlefield, creating a path of ice as she moves effortlessly through the monsters. Observing quietly, Red chooses not to interfere, realizing the rookies are more than capable. Satisfied, he acknowledges their strength and potential, a grin forming as he watches them fight. Maintaining control, Red keeps flames ready at his fingertips, prepared to act if needed. While absorbing the last remnants of energy, Kay senses something unusual. The flow feels off, as if another force is interfering. A strange pull begins to affect him, making it feel like his own color is being drained. Resisting the pressure, he realizes his strength has grown enough to withstand it. Finishing the process, he exhales in relief as the barrier fully disappears. With the path now open, the team stands before the true entrance to the ruins, a massive pit descending into endless darkness. Reporting success, Kay informs them the way is clear. Pleased, Red confirms his instincts were right and takes the lead, instructing the others to stay close behind him. As they move forward, an eerie silence suddenly fills the area, sensing danger. Red activates the lights and immediately recognizes that something is wrong. The ground begins to tremble, causing Gale to question what is approaching. From the depths, a massive tail slices through the darkness, crashing into the ground with overwhelming force. The impact shatters the terrain, leaving the team stunned as they struggle to comprehend the creature's size. Admitting the situation has escalated quickly, Red confirms that the reports about the black beast were true. Frustrated, he curses the timing as the monster appears right before them. Drawing his weapon, he prepares himself, knowing he cannot hold back. From the shadows, a humanoid figure emerges, covered in deadly weapons, its presence alone paralyzing the rookies. Facing the overwhelming threat, they freeze in place. Reacting instantly, Red orders them to retreat into the ruins, throwing a flashlight toward K and assigning him the search mission. Ignoring any protest, he forcefully sends them inside, deciding to face the monster alone at the entrance. Sliding down the steep tunnel, the trio tumbles deeper into the structure, landing hard at the bottom. Gale immediately complains about Red's reckless behavior. Activating the flashlight, K illuminates their surroundings, and the moment the light spreads, his eyes widen in disbelief. Before them lies an entire underground city hidden beneath the ruins. Observing the ruins, the destroyed buildings appear completely otherworldly, their structure unlike anything familiar. Asking where they are, Ellie notes that nothing about this place feels natural, her instincts immediately on edge. Exploring further, Kay catches a strong scent of something ancient lingering in the air, a trace of time long forgotten. Commenting on the design, Gale finds the architecture strangely modern despite its age, creating an unsettling contrast. Refocusing on their mission, Kay reminds them they need to locate the fragments as soon as possible. At that exact moment, Kay freezes as he hears a faint sound coming from inside his clothes. Without warning, the small black cat leaps out, startling everyone present. Shouting in disbelief, Gale demands to know how the creature even got there. Eyes wide, Ellie stares in shock at the sudden appearance of the animal. Breaking into a cold sweat, Kay realizes his secret is now exposed. Thinking quickly, he decides there is no point hiding Nero anymore in this situation. Accepting it, he concludes it would be impossible to conceal the cat in a place like this. Seeing an opportunity, Kay decides to turn the situation in his favor. Gathering their attention, he asks them to listen carefully to his plan. Holding up Nero, he confidently claims he has a way to track the fragment. Skeptical, the others listen with clear doubt, unsure whether to believe him. Ignoring their hesitation, Kay prepares to prove Nero's usefulness. With a grin, he warns them they are about to be shocked. Without hesitation, Kay tosses the small cat into the air, surprising everyone. Spinning mid-air, Nero activates his power, his body glowing brightly as intense light bursts forth, illuminating the surroundings completely. The display leaves Ellie and Gale speechless. Stunned, Gale admits he never imagined a pet could possess such an ability. Moments later, a glowing trail forms, guiding them forward, clearly marking the path ahead. Still in disbelief, Gale comments that what he is seeing defies all logic. Curious, he asks where Kay even found such a rare creature. Focusing on the task, Kay asks Nero if he has located the fragment, trusting fully in his companion's abilities. Detecting something nearby, Nero's eyes gleam as the energy signal becomes clear. The trail stretches forward, pointing directly toward a distant section of the ruins. Moving swiftly, the glowing path shoots between buildings at high speed. Understanding the signal, Kay declares that their objective is close. Complaining, Gale grumbles about how far they still need to travel. Mocking him, he jokes that anyone scared can stay behind. Ignoring the taunt, Kay moves forward decisively, saying he will take the lead. Following the luminous trail, the group passes through a vast silent corridor. Looking around, Kay is amazed by the sheer scale of the place, wondering what purpose it once served. Suddenly, Nero changes direction, making a sharp turn toward a nearby wall. Recognizing the signal, Kay realizes they have found something important. Without warning, the ground shakes violently as a massive structure crashes down in front of them. Startled by the impact, Kay steps back as dust fills the air. From within the cloud, a towering silhouette emerges, revealing itself slowly. Joking nervously, Gale remarks that instead of treasure, they have found trouble. Shouting in shock, he demands to know what that giant thing is supposed to be. Examining it closely, Kay notices it does not resemble a normal monster at all. As its visor lights up, the ancient machine activates, preparing for combat. Floating symbols appear in the air as Ellie observes strange numerical codes forming. Analyzing the data, the machine scans, Gale projecting a green code linked to him. Confused, Gale wonders if the thing is somehow reading their colors. Moments later, the machine shifts its focus directly toward Kay. Displaying the result, the system outputs the ominous code Black 00, immediately identifying him as a threat. The machine activates its elimination protocol. Without warning, the robot fires a powerful blast straight at them. Blocking the attack, Kay is pushed backward by the sheer force of the impact. Frustrated, he realizes the enemy did not hesitate to strike first. Outraged, Gale yells at the machine, unable to believe it attacked so suddenly. Charging forward, the robot raises its massive arm, preparing to crush them. Reacting instantly, Kay catches the incoming punch with his bare hands. Straining under the pressure, he admits the machine is far stronger than it appears. Charging energy within its core, the robot prepares another attack at close range. Jumping in, Ellie delivers a precise kick enhanced with ice, striking the machine directly. Taking advantage, Gale follows up with a swift slash from the side. However, Ellie quickly realizes their attacks have done no visible damage. Understanding the issue, she notes that her ice is ineffective against a mechanical target. Warning the team, she tells them to aim for the exposed core instead. Holding his position, Gale struggles to block the relentless heavy blows. Meanwhile, Kay dodges, narrowly avoiding being crushed into the ground. Analyzing the fight, he realizes brute force alone will not be enough to win. As the robot twists its body to attack again, Kay understands he needs something stronger. Forming an idea, he channels the black energy around his fist. The power gathers densely around his hand as he prepares a decisive strike. Without hesitation, he rushes forward, aiming directly for the weak point. Sliding along the machine's arm, he closes the distance in an instant. Driving his empowered fist into the core, he lands a direct hit. The impact shatters the protection as black energy corrodes the structure instantly. With its core destroyed, the machine powers down, collapsing lifelessly. Relieved, the group watches as the threat finally ends. Kicking the remains, Gale complains about how troublesome the fight was. Noticing something glowing, Kay steps forward and retrieves an unusual core fragment. Examining it closely, he realizes it is different from anything ordinary. Suspicious, Ellie immediately questions him about his black power. Caught off guard, Kay stumbles over his words, trying to avoid revealing the truth. Before the conversation continues, a massive door suddenly opens on its own. Startled, Gale questions who could have triggered it. Without hesitation, Nero rushes inside the dark passage ahead. Calling out, Kay quickly follows, not wanting to lose track of his guide. Pointing forward, he insists there must be something valuable deeper inside. Approaching the entrance, the group is stopped by a wall of liquid darkness blocking their path. Reaching out, Kay touches the surface and instantly feels the same energy as before. Before they can react, the vortex activates, pulling everything inward. Caught off guard, all three are dragged forward, unable to resist the force. Screaming, they are swallowed completely as the darkness consumes them. Falling endlessly through the void, they have no control over where they will land. Trying to see anything, Gale complains about the absolute darkness surrounding them. Reaching out blindly, he calls to the others, asking if they are still there. Suddenly, panic sets in as he realizes his color has completely disappeared. Looking around, the trio notices the entire world has lost its vibrancy. Back at headquarters, the administration building is boiling over with problems. Tension rising as chaos spreads through every department. Slamming his hand against the table, the director erupts in anger over the situation. His patience completely gone. Turning to his assistant, he demands to know Red's whereabouts, his voice sharp and filled with urgency. Complaining about the madness, he emphasizes the danger of an S-rank mission, making it clear how reckless this is. Fearing the worst, he cannot believe Red chose to head into such an isolated and dangerous zone. Recalling past incidents, he points out that even monsters return injured from that place. Continuing his rant, he insists that Red cannot simply ignore the rules without consequences. Meanwhile, sipping her tea, a mysterious woman watches him with visible amusement. Drinking calmly, Captain Cavalia tells him not to panic and to keep himself under control. Defending Red's actions, she explains that bringing the boy along was a necessary gamble. Speaking with confidence, she warns that fear will only cloud their judgment at a critical moment like this. Making a slight face, she complains about the drink's bitter and unpleasant taste. Maintaining a rigid posture, the director argues that breaking rules always leads to serious problems. Citing rumors, he warns that influential figures are already paying close attention to this situation. Recalling the ancient terror, he speaks about the limits of the dreaded black contamination. Predicting disaster, he claims the protective barrier will not hold forever. With a subtle wink, the captain suggests that the boy with the black color might be the key to everything. Breaking into a cold sweat, the director trembles at the mere thought of a god-rank power. Determined to stay ahead, he picks up the rookie's file and begins examining it closely. Staring at the photo, he decides to monitor every single movement from now on. Meanwhile, back in the abyss, the three kids awaken in a lifeless and colorless world. Screaming in terror, Gale realizes all of his colors have vanished completely. Pointing in shock, he notices that Kay is the only one who still appears normal. Checking himself, Kay confirms that the black color remains intact within him. Understanding the difference, he realizes the darkness does not affect him the same way it does the others. Trying to act, Gale forces his energy to create a guiding light. Failing instantly, the green glow is suffocated by the heavy and oppressive atmosphere. From above, eerie whispers begin to descend, surrounding the trio from all sides. Their eyes widening, they struggle to identify where the voices are coming from. Hearing faint laments, Ellie shivers as she recognizes a painfully familiar tone. Focusing his vision, Kay realizes that the place is projecting nightmares directly into their minds. From the mist, a female silhouette slowly emerges and walks toward Ellie. Sensing danger instantly, Kay detects a murderous intent coming from that shadow. Suddenly, a vortex of chaotic energy tears open the sky, spinning violently above them. From the abyss, a monstrous silhouette rises, dominating the entire horizon. Distorted creatures begin to crawl out from the surrounding darkness. Within the void, countless evil eyes gleam with pure malice. Fragments of the past flash before him as a familiar blue portal forms in his mind. Seeing through the illusion, Kay realizes the place is projecting real memories to break them. Mocking voices from the past begin to curse him relentlessly without pause. Resisting the pressure, Kay feels his own aura reacting violently to the environment. Calling her name, he desperately tries to break her out of the trance. Feeling the invasion grow stronger, he fights to expel the voices from his mind. Roaring in anger, Kay demands the illusion to stop immediately. Glancing to the side, he sees that Gale has also fallen into the nightmare. Being strangled, the swordsman relives a traumatic moment from his past. Realizing the urgency, Kay understands that both of his friends are trapped. Suddenly, Nero appears, shining like a beacon of light within the darkness. Relieved, Kay silently thanks his savior for returning at the perfect moment. Glowing brightly, Nero lets out a powerful meow that pushes back the surrounding shadows. A trail of light forms as the small cat begins guiding them forward. Reaching his allies, the sacred glow breaks the nightmare's hold completely. Taking the lead, Nero moves confidently as if he knows exactly where to go. Bursting with radiant energy, his aura begins cleansing the corrupted environment. Slowly regaining their senses, Ellie and Gale struggle to understand how they were freed. Drawing their attention, Kay points toward the light and urges them to follow it. Climbing along the walls, the glowing path reveals a safe route ahead. Sensing hope, Kay feels that the exit is finally within reach. Trying to interfere, the shadows whisper cruel insults in an attempt to break his focus. Mocking him, they claim that someone without color will never have any worth. Ignoring every word, Kay fixes his gaze on the distant guiding light. Step by step, he advances forward with unwavering determination. His eyes widening, he finally sees what lies hidden ahead. Recognizing it instantly, Kay realizes he has found the legendary Stella fragment. Mesmerized by its glow, he sees it as the only pure light within that hell. Reaching forward, he decides to grab it and end the nightmare once and for all. The moment he touches it, a burst of color explodes outward, illuminating everything. The fragment shines intensely, reacting to his presence. Feeling a strange vibration, Kay senses that this absorption is completely different. Unlike before, the energy feels alive and responsive to him. Pulsing with power, the light spreads outward across the space. The surrounding darkness recoils as the black mist begins to retreat. Unable to withstand the radiance, the abyss starts collapsing in on itself. In an instant, the illusion shatters, returning them back to reality. Taking a deep breath, Kay declares that the nightmare is finally over. Shocked, Ellie and Gale see him holding the glowing fragment in his hand. Showing it proudly, Kay reassures them that it is harmless and beautiful. Calmly, he insists he felt no pain at all while holding it. Without warning, Nero suddenly lunges forward and swallows the entire fragment in a single gulp. Stunned, the two stare as the faint glow of the fragment shines from within its belly. Lighting up the room, the cat turns into a living lamp after devouring the artifact. Grabbing the animal, Gale shakes it violently, demanding it return the priceless item. Suddenly, the temple begins to tremble, reacting to the loss of its core. The ceiling starts collapsing, threatening to bury them alive under falling rubble. Realizing the danger, Kay shouts for everyone to run as fast as they can. Dashing toward the exit, the trio narrowly escapes being crushed as the structure collapses behind them. Stepping over piles of corpses, a figure arrives at the entrance, calmly observing the aftermath of the massacre. Analyzing the scene, the red-haired girl notes how brutal the battle must have been. Impressed by the destruction, she wonders what kind of monster could cause such devastation. Quickly deducing the answer, she concludes it must have been that fight-crazed maniac. From within the smoke, Red emerges, standing proudly among the mountain of bodies. Moments later, the reinforcement team arrives, only to freeze at the sight of total destruction. A loud explosion echoes as the ground suddenly erupts, with a pillar of flame bursting through the rocks. Shielding her face, the orange-haired captain tries to identify the source of such overwhelming power. Immediately, she orders the medics to rescue any survivors without delay. Out of nowhere, blasts of black energy surge forward, threatening to consume everything in sight. Focusing on the danger, the captain realizes she must act quickly to protect her team. Screaming a warning, she orders everyone to get down before the shockwave hits. Gripping her hammer, she steps forward, placing herself between her squad and the incoming destruction. Spinning the weapon, she creates a barrier of wind to block the devastating attack. The impact shakes the entire cave as the force is barely repelled. As the dust settles, she confirms that the energy has finally dissipated. Recognizing the risk, she commands a full retreat, deciding it is too dangerous to remain. Inside the cave, the clash of blows sends violent tremors through the ground. Weapons collide as the captain blocks a black blade with her hammer, holding back the monstrous force. Locking eyes with the enemy, she notices the pure insanity burning within its gaze. Cutting through the air, the creature launches shadow claws toward her. The clash erupts in blinding light, illuminating the darkness around them. Redirecting the attack, she deflects the deadly strike away from her position. The shadowy figure retreats swiftly, creating distance to prepare another assault. Watching closely, the captain tracks every movement without missing a single detail. The monster begins to laugh, clearly enjoying the chaos and destruction. A sudden explosion ignites the battlefield as flames spread violently across the area. Emerging from the inferno, the captain stands firm, having endured the blast. Across from her, the two-toned-haired monster remains standing, unfazed by the damage. Mocking her opponent, she questions if that was supposed to be an attempt to dodge. The creature laughs loudly, mocking her efforts as pathetic. Slamming her hammer into the ground, the captain unleashes a powerful shockwave, forcing the enemy back. Sliding into the shadows, the monster retreats, using the smoke to vanish from sight. Reappearing at a distance, it watches as two figures stand ready to face it. Arriving with a confident smile, Red joins the battlefield, saying the show almost started without him. Relieved, the red-haired girl admits the situation was becoming dangerous. Facing both of them, the monster realizes it is now outnumbered. Lowering its stance, it acknowledges that these humans are far from ordinary prey. Quickly forming a plan, Red suggests she handle the minions while he deals with the main threat. Mocking her, he jokes that he arrived before she could destroy the entire place. Gathering intense heat, the captain prepares the ground for a decisive counterattack. Driving her hammer down, she activates a massive magic circle, declaring the monster's end. yet the enemy remains silent, simply watching as the final attack is prepared. A sinister smile forms as it feels its goal is finally within reach. Ignoring the threat, the monster murmurs that its body is finally ready. From the depths below, a hand suddenly grips the edge, revealing K has survived. Climbing up with exhaustion, he reaches solid ground alongside his friends. Taking a deep breath, Gale swears never to return to that underground nightmare. Observing the battlefield, K realizes he has arrived in the middle of a deadly confrontation. Turning sharply, Red notices the rookies appearing at the worst possible moment. He immediately orders them to run without hesitation. Ignoring the warning, the monster vanishes and charges toward them at blinding speed. Moving faster than the eye can follow, it closes the distance instantly. Panicking, Gale and Ellie activate their weapons, releasing their power in desperation. Their attacks fly toward the enemy, yet are effortlessly deflected as if meaningless. With a single precise motion, the monster breaks their defenses and disarms them completely. The impact sends both of them crashing to the ground, unable to continue. Advancing slowly, the monster fixes its gaze on K as its next target. Swinging its blade, the attack cuts through the air, aiming directly for his neck. Taking the hit, K feels a sharp pain tear through his shoulder. Watching in horror, Ellie screams as he is thrown violently across the battlefield. Gale and Ellie collapse, losing consciousness without any chance to react. Walking among the fallen, the monster shows nothing but contempt for humanity. It coldly declares that humans are weak and unworthy of existence. Losing interest, it decides to end everything quickly. Watching in silence, Red's expression twists into pure rage filled with killing intent. Lying motionless, K appears lifeless after the devastating blow. Suddenly, flames erupt as Red releases his overwhelming aura, ready to retaliate. Swearing revenge, he promises to reduce the monster to ashes. Amid the chaos, K's hand twitches, showing a faint sign of life. The monster notices something unusual as a strange energy begins to grow from his body. Sensing danger, the captain prepares to unleash her final strike. But before she can act, she realizes something is changing within the boy. In an instant, K rises and appears behind the enemy, cloaked in darkness. For the first time, the monster feels genuine fear creeping into its mind. Standing tall, K releases an overwhelming pressure that sends chills through the air. Darkness surges uncontrollably as his entire body is engulfed in a dense black aura. The atmosphere itself seems to tremble as his presence becomes something far beyond human. Doubting his own vision, the monster cannot understand how the boy is still alive. Questioning reality, the beast begins to sense real danger emanating from that dark aura. Noticing the similarity, the villain realizes the human is using the forbidden color. Clenching his fist, K gathers the black power, preparing for a decisive strike. The energy swirls violently, forming a furious vortex around him. Seeing this, the enemy feels a chilling sense of death crawl through its body. Leaping back, the creature desperately tries to create distance from this overwhelming threat. Watching in disbelief, Red and the captain struggle to comprehend what they are witnessing. In an instant, K disappears and reappears behind the monster in the blink of an eye. Grabbing its shoulder, he pins the creature in place with crushing force. Reacting quickly, the redhead shouts for the others to rescue the injured immediately. Sensing something wrong, Red fears the boy may have completely lost control. He imagines the worst, thinking K has turned into a monster of the Black Hands. Feeling its life force being drained, the creature realizes its very existence is being consumed. Recalling a familiar presence, it compares the boy's energy to that of a certain woman. Coming to a shocking realization, it declares that K is the key it has been searching for. Without mercy, shadows form into biting mouths, tearing into the monster relentlessly. Surrounded by gnashing teeth, it struggles desperately to break free from the dark jaws. Spinning its staff wildly, it attempts to carve out space within the chaos. The clash intensifies as beams of energy cut through the darkness of the cave. Realizing its mistake, the creature admits it underestimated the boy's true danger. Changing tactics, it decides to target only parts of him instead of facing him directly. Aiming for his limbs, it rushes forward, intending to cripple him. Blades of energy slice through the air, rushing toward the protagonist. Confident in victory, the monster smiles, expecting the attack to land. Its expression freezes as the strike is completely stopped mid-air. To its disbelief, the attack leaves no mark on K's body. Catching the blade with his bare hand, he halts the weapon effortlessly. The monster tries to pull back, but the sword remains stuck as if bound by an immovable force. Realizing the danger, it leaps back, attempting to gain distance once again. Accepting failure, the creature begins to understand its mission has gone terribly wrong. Suddenly, a voice shouts for it to look ahead. Before it can react, the captain crashes into it with a devastating blow. Declaring its end, the redhead announces that its time is over. Her hammer collides with explosive force, sending shockwaves through the cave. Blocking the attack barely, the monster feels its bones crack under the pressure. Groaning in pain, it acknowledges the situation has become far too dangerous. Deciding to retreat, it resolves to escape now that it has found the key. Turning its back, it rushes into the shadows, attempting to flee. Mocking its cowardice, the captain shouts after it, calling the creature pathetic. She taunts it, saying running away now only proves its weakness. Suddenly, its path is blocked as Red appears, cutting off its escape. With a cold voice, he asks where it thinks it is going, warning that no one leaves alive. Raising his sword, he unleashes a massive surge of red energy. A towering pillar of fire erupts, illuminating the cave like a volcanic explosion. The intense heat melts everything in its surroundings without mercy. Desperate to survive, the monster forms a fragile barrier of shadows. Even so, the flames burn through as it feels its flesh scorch under the infernal force. Crying out in pain, it realizes it cannot win against such overwhelming power. With no options left, it decides to gamble everything on escape. Leaping directly into the flames, it pushes through despite the damage. Watching in disbelief, Red sees the creature dive into the blazing inferno. Screaming in hatred, the monster vows this is not the end. Barely escaping with its life, the creature vanishes, leaving only its echo behind. Disappearing into the darkness, the monster escapes completely from their sight. Commenting on the escape, the captain sarcastically praises its persistence. Sheathing his weapon, Red laments letting such valuable prey slip away. Complaining about the suffocating environment, he states he hates fighting in such cramped spaces. Looking at the opening above, he notes the darkness once again helped the enemy escape. Apologizing, the captain admits she took too long to arrive. Trying to ease the tension, Ellie reminds them that at least everyone survived. Becoming serious, Red shifts his attention toward Kay standing behind them. He questions whether the boy is still conscious after everything. Worried, Ellie asks what they should do about him now. Observing carefully, Red notes that Kay's energy is fluctuating dangerously. As the darkness fades, the black aura begins peeling away from his body. Calling out to him, Ellie shouts desperately, trying to wake him. Suddenly, Kay collapses to his knees, exhausted after using all his strength. The black fades completely as his hair returns to its original white color. Silence fills the area as the group realizes the truth of his identity. Confused, the captain questions what kind of being he truly is. From above, Red looks down at the unconscious boy with a serious, unreadable expression. Far away, the monster groans in pain, clutching its burned body. Struggling to endure the damage, it collapses into the darkness to recover. As it catches its breath, a voice suddenly echoes nearby. Mocking at the newcomer, asks who managed to beat it so badly. Recognizing the voice, the monster complains about her constant interference. From the shadows, Viper emerges accompanied by identical copies of herself. Laughing at its miserable state, she teases it about fighting the legendary Red. Observing the surroundings, she notices the scorched earth left behind. Impressed, she remarks that surviving against that monster is no small feat. Annoyed, the creature tells her to stop talking and leave immediately. Recalling the battle, it admits that human strength is absurd. Changing the topic, Viper asks about the opening of the witch's tome. A sinister smile forms as she realizes he knows something about the seal. Refusing to answer, the monster keeps the identity of the key a secret. Declaring its intention, it claims the treasure for itself alone. Curious, Viper watches as it walks away, guarding its secrets closely. Turning to her copies, she orders them to investigate what truly happened. Intrigued, she decides to uncover what broke the forbidden seal. Suspecting human involvement, she finds the situation increasingly interesting. Laughing to herself, she eagerly anticipates confirming her theories. High above, a massive silhouette begins to rise against the dark sky. The shape of a colossal beast emerges, casting a terrifying shadow over everything below. Returning to the city, the daylight illuminates the quiet hospital. Looking out the window, Red reflects on the failure of the recent mission. Remembering his promise, he feels the weight of failing to protect them. Admitting his guilt, the redhead knows he almost lost the rookies in there. Staring at the bed, Red looks at the unconscious boy with concern. Checking the clock, he sees that time is passing far too quickly. Praising his resilience, the chief admits Kay is a tough nut to crack. Promising to do better, Red swears that next time no one will slow the group down. Panicking, Marie cannot understand why so many important people are present. Admiring the heroes, she almost faints, seeing the most famous colorist in the city. Remembering the scare, she admits she was terrified when she saw Kay arrive injured. Muttering to herself, she tells her friend to wake up already. Calling her name, Red approaches the girl to confirm her identity. Nervously stammering, Marie responds to the living legend. Reassuring her, he says Kay will be fine soon while asking about the cat. Wondering aloud, Red asks where little Nero has gone. Suddenly, Gale notices a shadow move in the corner of the room. Pointing excitedly, he yells that the critter is hiding under the sheets. Looking innocent, Nero slowly emerges with a calm expression. Accusing it immediately, Gale claims the cat swallowed the fragment, complaining about its disappearance. He says it will be impossible to explain the loss. Trying to catch it, Gale leaps onto the bed but barely misses his target. Fleeing quickly, the small cat jumps into Marie's lap, seeking protection. Defending the pet, Marie insists she will take good care of him. Gently petting Nero, she promises that no one will hurt the little creature. Watching closely, Red begins to sense something unusual coming from the animal. Opening its mouth, the cat casually spits out the glowing fragment. Radiating brightly, the light from the sphere floods the entire hospital room. Shocked, everyone watches as the relic comes out completely intact. Taking the object, Red can hardly believe they recovered such a legendary item. Admiring the treasure, he realizes that all their sacrifices were not in vain. Remembering those who fell, Red knows the price they paid was far too high. Suddenly screaming, Kay relives the fatal moment from his battle against the shadows. Overwhelmed by fear, he thinks he must save his friends from certain death. Waking up abruptly, the boy sits up in bed, sweating and panting heavily. Looking around in confusion, Kay tries to understand where he is. Noticing the calm environment, he realizes the danger has already passed. Seeing everyone gathered, he becomes even more confused. Checking his body, he freezes after noticing he has returned to being colorless. Breaking into a cold sweat, Kay believes he will now be thrown out. Imagining the worst, he trembles at the thought of being abandoned. Raising his voice, Red orders him to lift his head immediately. Questioning him, the chief asks why he looks so guilty. Ignoring his appearance, Red says he does not care about his color at all. Showing him the recovered fragment, Red declares the mission a complete success. Officially welcoming him, he announces that K is now part of the team. Speechless, K realizes he has finally found a place where he belongs. Smiling with relief, he accepts the offer with genuine happiness. Preparing to leave, Red says he will give the young ones time to talk. Taking the fragment, he mentions he has a meeting with the Great Lord. As the door closes, silence fills the room, making K feel tense. Curious, Ellie asks if he remembers what happened after the fight. Searching through his clothes, K says he came prepared to regain his power. Pulling out a bottle, he reveals black ink collected from the sewers. Showing it proudly, he explains he filled it from a disposal pit. Disgusted, Ellie warns him that it is poison, not something to drink. Ignoring her concern, K drinks the entire bottle without hesitation. Watching closely, the group sees his body begin to react instantly. His hair shifts color, turning from white into deep black once again. Feeling his strength return, Kai confidently declares he is ready for another fight. Feeling uneasy, Gale comments that where he comes from, that substance is used as fertilizer. Cutting the conversation short, Kai decides to leave and handle other matters. Blocking his path, Gale stops him with a serious expression. Examining him closely, he notices the boy's arm has fully healed. Finding it suspicious, he points out that such regeneration is extremely rare. Cornering him, Gale demands an explanation while staring him down. Suddenly shouting, he angrily asks who stole his milk. Caught off guard, Kai struggles to come up with an excuse. Trying to lie, he claims his instincts warned him about the danger. Losing patience, Gale grabs him by the neck, refusing to accept the answer. Shaking him violently, he yells, asking who even asked to be saved. Admitting his frustration, he says he hates owing anyone anything. Confused, Kay cannot understand why Gale is so upset. Interrupting them, Marie tells Gale to let him go immediately. Turning away with a huff, Gale reluctantly obeys her request. Rubbing his neck, Kay realizes this is their strange way of showing concern. Deciding to leave together, the group exits the hospital before things escalate again. Declaring himself fine, Kay says he is ready to move on. Postponing their fight, he puts off the rematch with Gale for later. Calling them over, Kay asks for their serious attention. With a mysterious tone, he says he has something incredible to show. Recalling the battle, he claims he defeated the giant robot alone. Handing over an item, he reveals he kept the core for Marie. Presenting it proudly, he shows the device that powered the deadly machine. Her eyes widen as she becomes completely mesmerized by the object. Trembling with excitement, Marie carefully examines the rare technology. Meanwhile, Red walks alone into the grand sacred hall of the city. Smiling slightly, he senses the success of the mission filling the air. A divine light shines throughout the enormous chamber. Approaching respectfully, he bows before the throne of his leader. Announcing his return, he declares that he brings good news. A gentle voice echoes, welcoming him into the presence. Reporting the outcome, Red states that the veil of the Black Witch has been broken. Addressing the entity, he respectfully calls him Lord Luminous. Elsewhere, Marie works tirelessly inside her workshop, dismantling the core. Amazed, she admits she has never seen such advanced technology before. Analyzing its design, she explains that it runs on ink as pure energy. Confirming her thoughts, she declares that its value surpasses the entire city. Smiling confidently, she promises to uncover all of its secrets. Lost in excitement, she imagines the countless discoveries hidden within it. Asking eagerly, she begs for permission to take it apart immediately. Still unsure, she questions whether he truly intends to give her such an S-rank item. Making a bold promise, she vows to create a perfect weapon just for him. Calling for the cat, Kay decides to leave and let her work in peace. Stopping him at the door, Marie shyly asks him to wait for a moment. Thanking him sincerely, she admits she is touched by his trust. Remembering her past, her mind drifts back to her lonely childhood. Crying alone, she once begged not to be abandoned like worthless trash. At that moment, a mysterious man in glasses appeared before her. Extending his hand, he offered her a place where she could belong. Strengthened by that memory, she resolves to live up to that chance. Walking away thoughtfully, Kay feels that such an item does not belong with him. Walking through the slum, Kai notices the growing tension among the locals. Sensing something is wrong, he quickens his pace, deciding to regroup with his team before anything happens. Pausing briefly, he feels the atmosphere has completely changed. The city no longer feels the same. Rumors spread rapidly among the people. They speak in fear about the guards' actions. Arrests are happening without reason. Civilians begin to panic. Many believe war is about to break out. Turning his head, Kai hears someone calling him. The voice comes from a dark alley. Looking into the shadows, he hears the voice again. It tells him to approach slowly, assuring him there is nothing to fear, but suddenly he feels a strange pressure. Reacting instantly, Kai turns around, sensing something far stronger approaching. A blinding rainbow light fills his vision, forcing him to shield his eyes. Within the light, a figure begins to appear. Hesitation hits him for a moment. He feels that once he steps forward, there is no turning back. Despite this, he walks into the light. In an instant, he is transported elsewhere, a place beyond reality itself. The surroundings shine with overwhelming brightness. A female silhouette slowly reveals itself. Walking closer, the woman radiates a divine, colorful aura. Confused, Kay asks who she is, trying to identify the source of that pressure. The woman smiles gently, telling him to calm himself. Then she reveals her identity. She is Galaxia, the High Saint. Kay freezes in shock, standing before a living legend. She greets him warmly, saying she has been waiting for the Son of Black, extending her hand with perfect grace. Her hospitality feels almost too perfect. Suddenly, distorted whispers invade his mind. Voices echo in the darkness, asking if he can see the invisible. K senses danger immediately. He realizes the light is hiding something beneath it. The word invisible floats like a warning. His instincts scream that something is wrong. He feels a hidden presence nearby. Galaxia continues smiling warmly, completely unaware of what he hears. The voice whispers again from the darkness. K searches desperately for the source, trying to understand what is invading his mind. Noticing his reaction, Galaxia becomes confused. She points out she did nothing to cause this. Denying any involvement, she speaks seriously. She mentions his black lineage as a major problem. Revealing the truth, she explains the city leaders wanted him dead. They planned to eliminate him immediately, but she interfered and saved his life. She states this with pride, explaining that his power is essential for the future. Then she offers him a deal. She promises to protect him from the world, to hide his existence completely. Kay listens carefully, realizing the situation is far more complex. Galaxia explains her solution. Her white power can conceal his black nature. Preparing to cast a sacred spell, she begins the process to seal his secret. A warm, blinding light engulfs his body, but something feels off. Kay grows suspicious. It feels like manipulation or brainwashing. The voices in his mind grow louder, disturbing his thoughts. He struggles to ignore them. Galaxia continues explaining calmly. She reminds him she saved his life, admitting she needs him for a larger plan. She recalls never seeing energy like his before. At that moment, Kay reveals something. He pulls out the glowing stella fragment. The light reacts strangely in her presence. Galaxia notices this immediately, calling it unusual. Kay goes on high alert, realizing he is dealing with someone dangerous. Galaxia begins speaking about the past. She mentions the ancient seal of the Black Witch, explaining that no one has been able to open it. Until now, Kay is hit with a shocking realization. Only the witch herself holds the true key. The fragment begins to glow in response, revealing its connection to darkness. Images of black hands flash in his mind. Memories of terror resurface, connecting everything. Kay suspects the truth. She knows about the shadow monsters. Noticing his silence, Galaxia senses something. Realizing he is hiding information, she smiles mysteriously, choosing not to push him further. Instead, she announces her next move. She will use the fragment immediately. Far away, the Blacklands begin to stir. Darkness spreads toward the city. Meanwhile, the palace gathers immense energy. The air becomes heavy with power. Touching the fragment, Galaxia reveals her true strength. Energy builds rapidly in her hands. Then she releases it. A blinding explosion of light erupts. A massive rainbow pillar shoots into the sky, piercing through the clouds. The blast crashes down toward the darkness, colliding with overwhelming force. Kay watches from a distance, feeling completely insignificant, like an ant before a god. He can barely believe what he sees. The darkness begins to retreat, pushed back by the divine power. The Blacklands shrink under the pressure. Kay struggles to process everything, doubting whether this is even real. The overwhelming display leaves him stunned. As the battle between light and darkness unfolds, the outcome begins to shift, and the balance of power slowly changes. Spreading the news, the newspapers print the bombshell headline instantly. Yelling in the streets, a boy announces that the border is being retaken. Celebrating the news, the people read about the miracle that just happened. Praising their leader, the citizens thank the great saint for her protection. Illuminating the city, hope is reborn with the victory over the shadows. Celebrating the achievement, the pioneers are thrilled with new lands. Planning for the future, the leaders discuss exploiting the resources. Spying from afar, a hooded figure observes the commotion. Returning to the topic, Galaxia asks if he understands the fragment. Explaining its strength, she says light is only the beginning. Warning the boy, she mentions the black hands will come for him. Promising protection, she guarantees his safety. Lamenting the situation, she reveals the city is consuming everything. Showing vulnerability, she admits her power is running out. Giving advice, she tells him to be careful who he trusts. Ending the meeting, she says he must return to reality. Disappearing in light, she leaves an enigmatic smile. Waking up dazed, Kay struggles to process everything. Scratching his head, he wonders what to do with the information. Remembering his duty, he thinks about Mary handling problems. Counting his coins, he enjoys a rare moment of peace. Choosing his destination, he heads toward the Central Guild. The massive pioneer building stands out in the city. Laughing nervously, he never thought he would enter. Remembering the past, he recalls being unable to walk freely. Adjusting his cloak, he steps forward with confidence, entering as a legitimate pioneer. Crossing the hall, he becomes the center of attention. People whisper about the legendary black color. Some compare him to villains from the news. Others doubt what Red saw in him. From a window, a red-haired man watches with curiosity. He scoffs, expecting someone older. Asking Ranil for the truth, he questions the rumors. The girl admits his reputation is justified. Recalling fears, she describes the power as evil. An observer smiles, noting the rookie has arrived. Walking through the hall, Cal realizes everyone knows him. The clerk greets him and asks about an account. Signing papers, he receives his license. Trying to remain calm, he accepts it quietly. Veterans stare at him with contempt. At another table, a team discusses their mission. Someone questions their real objective. Their leader cuts the conversation short. He confirms they are not here to play hero. Criticizing Ka, he says black hurts his eyes. Openly expressing dislike, he rejects Red's opinion. Remembering his beliefs, he hates talent dependence. Turning away, he ignores K completely. Focusing back on the mission briefing, the Blacklands appear as their destination. Meanwhile, K continues his own task. Holding the stone, he finds valuable ore. Piling it up, he is amazed by the wealth. These colored ores are extremely valuable. Thinking of Marie, he imagines her reaction. Activating his vision, everything changes. In the darkness, the ores shine like stars. Teasing his partner, he jokes about replacing the cat. Finishing early, he avoids attention. Using the time, he decides to train, focusing on controlling his new power. He remembers the danger of ink drain. It is unstable and unpredictable. Focusing on his hand, he tries to control it. He must master it before it consumes him. Spotting a glowing blue stone, he examines it. Suddenly, his power activates on its own. The black energy drains the color instantly. Panicking, he watches it crumble to dust. His money disappears before his eyes. Frustrated, he accepts the loss. At least he understands the ability better. Thinking deeper, he recalls Galaxia's explanation. Realizing black is a mixture of all colors, he wonders if he can ever be cured. The phrase echoes in his mind. Use all the colors, deciding it is time to return. Something suddenly reacts in his pocket. Red's mysterious box begins to vibrate. Holding it, he feels dense red energy. It suddenly explodes with light, startling him completely. Ahead, Nero senses something in the shadows. Looking forward, Kay notices endless darkness. Carrying the sack, he feels he overdid it. Then he spots figures approaching. Emerging from the dark, a group appears. The group carries a heavy and dangerous aura. The red-haired leader smiles coldly, threatening anyone who disobeys. Confused, Kay does not understand.